Hey guys, it's Bui,
It's Sthefon.
and in this video we're going to update you guys on what we have done over the past 2 days. So yesterday I added the windows, and afterwards I felt that the outside was a little too empty, so I started to work on the exterior. So these are some of the references that we had looked at, and we really wanted to capture the neon lights, especially in these lanterns, but particularly in the neon signs, right? It's a big thing, a part of like Hong Kong, I'd say nightlife. That's what you imagine, right, Sthefon?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so we really wanted to get this neon feeling, and we also wanted to have the player feel kind of claustrophobic, right? We wanted the city to like dwarf the player. So luckily for us, Epic Games released their Soul City for free, and the assets that they had captured the atmosphere that we were going for very well. So after that, and seeing these assets, I went into Unreal Engine and I started to build the outside, right? Some things to note are, we only have a limited amount of asset types. As you see, we have about 7 or 8 here, right? So we need to trick the player to believing that there are at least twice as many assets. An example of this is in the game, when I go into these frames, right? No matter how I look out the window, you will never see 2 of the same neon signs, right? And it gives off that illusion that we're playing with more assets than we really have, right? We also wanted to give the structure of the buildings kind of this city-like structure. I'm giving these spaces for roads and sidewalks, and even though the player will never maneuver, they'll never go downstairs, we think it's really important to still have that realistic vibe. Actually, if you see here, the player is at least on the 3rd floor because these are like proxy boxes, but the player will never be able to go downstairs. So things like this, they're done purely for scale and to get us in the mood when designing. A quick touch that I made was this specific tall and large building to capture the grandioseness of the feeling of the city and to continue to make the player seem pretty small. The last changes that we made were the windows and the lighting. Sthefon noticed these windows actually were too big before. It was actually just one big window. And that made the player's room kind of stand out too much. So you see these windows, they're not particularly big, but they are very scattered, right? So I rescaled the windows to match the surrounding windows dimensions. And the preliminary lighting was just a matter of changing the general color of the skyline. It's a lot more purplish, right? Moving the sun angle so it's now nighttime, and lowering the lighting intensity to make the whole scene darker. A problem that I'm going to be running into from now on is the lighting at the inside. I'm having a hard time seeing through the complete darkness, as you see here. So as I'm traversing through the level and making these changes to the interior, it's almost as if I'm tripping on myself because it's so dark. So we'll be looking to make changes to the interior lighting very soon.
All right, and for my end, I was working on trying to get the effects that we wanted for the memories. And so originally, what we had in mind was when we had the fluorescent lights represent the memories, the warm colors, we wanted it to, or I envisioned that it had like this transparent look. And the first thing that came to my mind was the scene in Harry Potter with the Patronus, which is, transparent, it has a mission, and it has like this wispy kind of tail effect to it. And so, let's see. So when we go in, and I was playing with the Niagara particle effects, and to a certain extent, I would say that it worked, but you could see that it's still not there. And we also tried to achieve the transparent and also kind of emissive color by using a hologram material that we had created on day 0. And also through working with this, it was almost there, but we didn't quite capture it. And as I was going through more examples, I also came across the content example, which used a sprite-based mesh reproduction. And so you can see here how it's more connected, it's more wispy. And I was playing with the settings here, but it's still not there yet. So I'm still trying to work more on how we can get that kind of dreamlike effect. And so something that Bui and I have been deciding whether or not to implement was whether or not we should have these lines within the hologram effect. And so, let's see. Without the lines going to the hologram, we would have this. And to me, I felt like this was something that, you know, we're not looking at a projection, we're not looking at neon lights. What we're looking at is a memory. And so we wanted it to be, or I wanted it to be clear. Versus, you know, looking at like a TV screen or something like that.
Yeah. No, now that I see it like this, it's actually pretty good. But yeah, I mean, in the end, Sthefon and I like debated for like an hour on whether or not we wanted to have this, the wispy effect apply like this. In the end, though, we decided to compromise to have the dissipation that Sthefon was researching earlier. Yeah, some frustrations that we're coming across is working with other people's assets, right? On one hand, it's obviously a blessing. You know, we have access to so many high quality assets, and basically we got them in no time. And in this instance, they were free, right? But on the other hand, we feel like we're restricted sometimes to the asset maker's idea of something. And the challenge for us is trying to twist and bend that idea to match our idea. And even then, you'll never fully like paint the image that you had in your head onto the screen.
Just like the last game jam that we had with that, it comes in between that balance between time and quality. You know, given that we have the time constraint within, you know, we want to finish something within a week, we're kind of forced to use these, you know, assets at our own, you know, dispense of having the quality of what we want to fit in our head. Yeah.
Another thing that we come across, especially because of the pandemic and the fact that Sthefon and I cannot meet physically, is the idea that we have one solid concept we have in our heads, but there are two different ideas in each of our heads. I worked on a lot of the outside work last night at like 1 a.m. and Stephan's not awake at that time. So that morning, or this morning, I have to kind of hope that the image that I have projected onto the screen is similar, or, you know, we can make a compromise on the image that we have in our heads so that we can, so that my work doesn't go to waste, essentially, right? And, you know, even though we pull up these references and I feel like Sthefon and I, you know, we know each other pretty well, it's still gonna be in the minutia, right? Again, like the wisp effect, the line effect, right? These little things, it's still very important to us to get it right, and it's gonna be a challenge. Alright, well, thanks for watching, everyone, and we will see you guys next time. Be well.